What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of Diving Deeper. My name is Osama. I'm the host for this show. And this is an interview series where we dive a little bit deeper into some of the personalities that might not be highlighted in mainstream media. Today, for my first episode, I'd love to welcome my dear friend, David Wu. Come on in.
What's up, dude?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good.
Sit down. So, the reason I brought you on was because obviously, number one, you're one of my greatest friends, but at the same time, you're somebody who I admire as someone who thinks a little bit more on the deeper end, more philosophically, understands the world a little bit better. So, but before we get into that, do you mind looking at the audience and just giving them a quick 5-minute overview of your entire life? You do that?
Born in Brooklyn. Mom's Korean, dad's Chinese, and kind of went through Catholic school for a little bit, went to public school, and then that's how I met you guys, through Brooklyn Tech. Went to college in Buffalo, and that's where I kind of like figured out my deeper side and studied philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So walk me through that a little bit more because
Yeah.
as we know, we have a lot of friends who are in their early to mid to late 20s and kind of struggle with what they've done in school, what they're doing right now. What made you decide to study philosophy?
So I didn't choose philosophy like right off the bat,
Yeah.
obviously. I kind of just went into college undecided, and honestly just had to just try a bunch of stuff until I realized like I don't really want to study bio.
Yeah.
Tried to go do med school and see like if it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And also I didn't even know why I wanted to do it. It was just kind of on a whim. I was like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I
But
did that.
there had to have been something that drew you to it if you decided it sounds cool.
Oh, absolutely not. Like my friend was in bio, and like I was like, all right, I'm gonna sign up for bio. And then
I mean, I'm sure there's a million people who end up in the humanities and just ended up in there by chance, right?
Right, exactly.
But would you say right now that you found it useful in your life? You found it beneficial to you personally? Because, I mean, you can dive into a little bit deeper, but you're not working in any field regarding philosophy right now.
Correct.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit more about what you do right now?
I work in audit,
Mm-hmm.
for a market making company.
Yeah.
So I mean, aside from like the products that my company offers, audit essentially is like, if you want to like demify it a little bit, it's you're making sure that the financials of said company are what the company says that they are.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially the kind of like a Zagat rated sort of like entity that makes sure that like the company is like not lying to the public, that they're making said amount of revenue, because the investor, when they're trying to invest in the company, they want to know like, okay, they're basing it off of like a few things.
Yeah.
Whether it's like company reputation, whether it's like, oh, like this quarter, like they made a certain amount of money. So like they need to know that like the information is valid.
Mm-hmm. So how did you even enter this field without having prior college experience?
So, for me, right when I got out of college, I had no idea. Like I wanted to work at a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get any paralegal jobs. I couldn't get any law internships. So, especially in the city, because coming from Buffalo, it's like kind of difficult. And then also my GPA wasn't like stellar.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never putting my GPA on my resume.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was I realized that I had to go get my master's. That's the only way that I would be able to like get past the GPA problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like I studied philosophy and not something like more like political science or anything.
That's part of the problem, right? You were, at the time entering college, 18, 19,
right,
trying to figure out what you wanted to do, but somehow you needed to know that in those 4 years of college, you had to have gotten the proper GPA and proper degree to actually get into the field that you ultimately didn't even know you wanted until years down the line. And you still might not even know if that's the field you want to go in, right?
Right. And I think the most important part is that like it's not that you need this perfect GPA or like this perfect major at a perfect school to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways. It might just take longer.
Yeah.
It might just take more hard work, but like you'll still get there. Like you can. There's just different avenues.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I went to school for marketing, right?
Right.
It's clearly not what I wanted to do with my life moving forward. You went to school for philosophy. You ended up working in audit, and right now it's a little bit up in the air with what you want to do moving forward. Do you think it's fair that we have a system right now that basically asks us to figure out what we want to do in our earliest years of adolescence, where we don't even know who we are or our identity ourselves to even figure out what we want to do as a career moving forward? And also, I wanted to ask, do you even think it's possible to ever know what you want to do in life?
I think that's what life is about. It's
Mm-hmm.
about your never-ending quest on figuring out what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like I wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna have 2 eggs or I'm gonna have an orange today. Like you're always gonna be figuring out like what you want.
Yeah.
And for you to like ever get to a point in your life where you're like satisfied with what you want, I think then that's when your life ends.
Yeah.
Like not like physically like your life ends, but you're there. Like you took this stop and now you're there. Like there's no moving forward. This is like you're at a dead end for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but I'm
Right.
someone who deals with a lot of anxiety around being on my deathbed one day and wondering whether I'm going to be satisfied with what I've left in this world, with what I've done in this world, the people I've touched, the relationships I've fostered. And I feel like that anxiety is so crippling that it's getting in the way of me doing the things that I want to do to get me to that state where I feel that kind of self-actualization, self-satisfaction. Do you think it's possible? And I think actually a lot of people our age nowadays struggle with the same thing, where because we have so many quick advancements in technology, the ability to touch other people like so quickly, so rapidly, hear news at a constant rate, and see people succeeding at a faster rate than ever before, it's hard nowadays to figure out how to get rid of this constant nagging anxiety that you're not fulfilling what you should be fulfilling,
Right.
and at the same time not even knowing what that is that you should be fulfilling, you know? And so I feel something like a talk, like a conversation like this with you or with anybody else on or off camera is therapeutic for me to understand that nobody really knows where they are in life. Nobody really understands that like what they want to do moving forward
Right.
until their deathbed, like you mentioned. But how can someone our age kind of limit a little bit of that anxiety and limit a little bit of that, you know, uncertainty around what they want to do in life,
Mhm.
what they want to be, and the people that they want to be around, you know?
Right. I think the one thing that I took from philosophy was I graduated knowing that all I knew was that I knew nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
See, 4 years to figure that out.
Yeah. And I actually have like a little like plaque on my desk at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I like look at it all the time, but like I'm going to paraphrase. It basically says, I'm not sure what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like, you know, people at work will come up to me because like I work with like a lot of people at the company because I'm always asking for like supporting documentation, blah, blah, blah. And they like look at it and they look at me and they're like, it's funny that like you have this side, and it's like a nervous laugh, but like at the same time, like I think my like reputation at the company, like they realize like, okay, no, I do know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, look, you just always have to realize like you're not going to know as much as someone else.
Yeah.
Like you can walk on the street and you might think that they're dumber than you, but there's going to be this one thing that they're smarter than you at,
Mm-hmm.
or they have more experience than you. So you should always be able to glean information from other people and like just realize like you're not going to be omnipotent. You can't know everything.
Yeah.
Um,
But then how do you strike that balance then between, like you mentioned, potentially having imposter syndrome where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like trying to essentially pass along here and act like I belong. But at the same time, everyone tells you need this amount of confidence in yourself, the ability to never give up on your
Right.
dreams, to actually end up successfully pursuing your dreams. So how do you strike that balance between feeling like you don't know anything and feeling like you should know everything in order to feel confident enough to actually achieve it?
Well, I mean, sometimes like first you have to identify the fact that you don't know anything. And then I think once you realize that, you're going to start figuring out like, okay, what do I want to know now?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, like you can go into like 5 different topics. like one topic and then you don't like it, one topic you don't like it, and like you might just go on this whole like rabbit chase. But eventually you will find it. Some people just take longer than others, and it's totally fine. And sometimes that just reinforces where you eventually end up. That choice is reinforced because you've known that you've tried all these avenues.
Gotcha. So let me ask you then, so far in this journey of yours, where do you think you are right now? What have you found out about yourself, and what do you know that you don't know?
What do I know that I don't know?
Mm-hmm.
My limits. I don't know what my limits are. Just because of the fact, like, I mean, we're 25, well, 24. We still have like plenty of years left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, limits is probably like a big one. In terms of, what was the other one?
The other question was like, how do you know, like, where are you so far in your journey? What have you learned about yourself?
Yeah. So right now, I'm in the beginning stages of changing my career.
Mm-hmm. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm going into officer candidate school for the U.S. Army.
Oh wow, that's a big turnaround
from audit. Yeah,
from philosophy to audit,
right,
to joining the military. So
right.
I mean, that's a huge part of your journey, right? And you're someone who, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and there's been a little bit of a debate back and forth, because I know when you first mentioned this to me about a year ago, I was a little bit hesitant. I didn't know how I personally felt about it, because I was conflicted. I felt, on one hand, everything having to do with the military goes against every principle that I personally hold.
Right.
But at the same time, I see this one person that I value, whose opinion I value so much, and who I love talking to about life and about like the intricacies and facets of like a deeper understanding of the life around us. And to me, it was conflicting to see someone like that wanting to do something that I thought was so against both of our principles, right? So, but at the same time, I knew to trust you and trust that you had made this decision for the best reason for yourself and for those around you. And so I wanted to understand that a little bit more. But do you want to tell anybody who's watching, you know, how you got to that decision, what made you decide to switch from philosophy to audit and now military? What do you hope to get fulfilled out of that? And like, what do you see moving forward after this?
Gotcha. Yeah, so honestly, it goes back to like when I was a junior in college. I was working security.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys know that. I used to work as a security guard.
Really?
At this place called Canalside. And it was basically just like on a pier in Buffalo. And the reason why I even started that job was because I was supposed to go up to Buffalo for the summer and do a law internship.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was like full time. Get there, it's part time. So I'm like, shit, like 24 hours a week. Like how am I supposed to pay for rent? Like blah blah blah. And I was like, crap. Like what am I gonna do? So I ended up going on Craigslist. I like literally pulled all the stops. Like started working, like looking for like job posters and whatever. And then eventually I found U.S. Security, and I was like, I could be a security guard, I guess. Like I guess maybe I could just sit around, like whatever, blah blah blah.
And at this point, how old were you?
21.
21. So for those of you who don't know, David used to be about as skinny as this finger that I have here. And at what year do you think you got a little bit huskier, you were able to gain some weight and like fill in your body?
I think the first time it was noticeable was probably like the end of sophomore year.
So around like 19, 20.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for any, UB alumni, just go to Pistachios 2 to 3 times a week. And pasta, that helps. You want to gain 15 to 20 pounds in a year, that's where you go.
So at this point, you decided, I'm going to be a security guard, and you had no prior experience with it. You're just like, I just need to do whatever I got to do to pay for my schooling.
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
So from there, like, I met a lot of veterans who like work security, or people that are were in ROTC, or like their aspirations are to go into law enforcement or something like of that nature. And Yeah, and I think just like spending my whole summer in Buffalo, spending so much time with these types of people, I started realizing like, oh, like I could make this. Maybe I should consider this as like a potential career, and like also, like at the time, the reason why I was even there for the summer was for the law internship and to study for the LSAT. So at the time, I wanted to go to law school, and I wasn't sure like how I was going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started considering like things like ROTC or like maybe going to the army and getting my GI Bill and blah blah blah. And that's what piqued my interest. And after I went back to school, I kind of just went out the window.
Yeah.
Somewhere like down the road, it kind of just went out the window, and it didn't come back until recently, when I was going through a lot of stuff at home and like a lot of stuff at work, career wise, and also like me. 2 years out of college. Well, at the time was I guess a year out of college. I was sitting there. I was like I was trying to figure out like what do I actually want to be doing. Like as much as like I was learning a lot from audit and my company and like my team, I wasn't learning the things that I deep down I thought were things that I want to learn going forward. Like don't get me wrong. Like everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
Your experiences are going to be beneficial to you in one shape or another, like somewhere down the line. Like I will always be appreciative of the shit that I learned, because like now I can look at things with the mindset. Like if I were to open a business, I'm going to start looking at like things in a different way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally attribute a lot of my understanding of everything around me to a lot of the humanities I've studied in college, whether it's philosophy, anthropology, sociology, even theology. A lot of understanding of different religions. It really helps you understand how people work and how things work around you, and that's like infinitely useful.
Right.
So I totally understand like where you can appreciate that from. So now, walk me through your decision, working in audit right now, to make the decision in this year to make that transition over to join the military.
So a lot of my soul searching ended up being like trying to get back to that junior year summer, because I was like super proud of how I like handled everything, like how I handled adversity, like figuring out solutions like on my own.
Yeah.
And when I say alone, I'm like alone. Like I had my roommate Laura, but like most of the time I was doing stuff on my own. If I was doing grocery shopping, I guess she would help me and stuff, but like to get to work and stuff, like I had to like walk 30 minutes to the train and then take like a 20 to 30 minute train ride down to like either the Buffalo office, law office, or like to work at security. And like, dude, in Buffalo, if you don't get on the 11 o'clock train, there's no train coming after that. Like you're stuck there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like having to fight through all those things, like I was really proud of myself and like what came of it during that summer. When I went back to school senior year, I was like a different person. Like I kind of like took life by the balls and was like, no, like I'm gonna like get it. Like I'm not gonna like fuck around anymore. Like this is my time.
Yeah, and it's like about time that you finally do this thing that you've been thinking about, because you might go however many years unsure if you're happy with what you're doing or not. Right. But at the end of the day, you don't want to have any regrets that you didn't do something that you've always wanted to do.
Right. So like I just kept going at it, and then like I did really well that semester, and I was like probably the most I did the most. Wow, I can't even speak right now. That was the most. Like that was the best academic year of my entire college career, and like.
And is it because you felt motivated?
So I don't believe in motivation. I think motivation gets you only so far.
Yeah.
But what keeps you to get up, what makes you like get up every morning, and like know that I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z today. Even though you just had like a shitty day the day before. Yeah. Is discipline, and a goal.
Gotcha.
Period. Like motivation will only get you so far. You need to have a solid routine, and then that'll push you forward.
And so, I think I'm gathering pieces now. So you feel like joining, if it works out that way, joining the military might help you strengthen those attributes of yourself as well.
Yes, and right. I went on a little tangent there. It was doing soul searching in like trying to figure out like what made that such a great period of my life. Because I felt like I had gone away from it.
Yeah.
Sure, like I'd still go to the gym every once in a while and like, you know, have like maybe a gym routine for like 6 weeks, but then I'd be off for 2 weeks, and then it's like why am I doing this if it's not going to be like a part of my routine, right? And then also just like trying to do passion projects on the side, like doing film or like doing like anything else outside of work. Like I just couldn't get myself to do it.
Yeah.
So I just had to like mentally just time travel back and like figure out like what made me me. So I tried like going back to volunteering, going back to like reading philosophy, like try filming every once in a while, and then I guess nothing really stuck with me to the point where like, okay, like this is why I'm gonna get up every morning. And then eventually I got back to the topic of like going to the military, and I started looking into it. We started doing the research, and the biggest hurdle that I had was the commitment, the time commitment. The second was monetary reasons. I thought like just like on the face of it, like looking at the pay grade that officers get, I was like, ooh, like I'd be taking a huge pay cut from like what I'm making now. But once you incorporate a bunch of other stuff, you're like you realize like
in terms of the value you're getting back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're getting like a different value back. So once I got got that comfort, I realized like, okay, like I can make this decision.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, so you touched on it a little bit briefly, but you've also enjoyed doing other creative passions on the side, like film or any other creative pieces. I know at one point you were really interested in art and photography. Your parents also are very related into the creative field. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what they do maybe and how that's influenced you?
Yeah, so it's unconventional, but both my parents are Asian and they are both artists. My dad's a painter.
Amazing work, by the way. Yeah.
Marketing right here. So yeah, my dad's a painter. My mom's a photographer. My mom doesn't really do stuff anymore, but like that's what they like went to school for.
Yeah.
So I guess for them, they never pushed me to do one thing or the other because, I mean, they're like in a creative field themselves. Like, are they really gonna tell me like, oh, you should
not pursue anything creative?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't look at what I'm doing. Just
right. So I guess I kind of had a different upbringing where like I kind of was just told to try anything, and like when you're a kid and you're an only child, you kind of like you kind of feel lost and you kind of feel like, oh, like they're just not like telling me what I should or shouldn't do. Like they're leaving me out to dry. But like looking back, it's like, oh, like no, it's like you kind of have to be in that sort of situation to be able to figure out what you want. Yeah. Because you're growing up, like let's say like if your parents are always telling you like, oh, I want you to be a doctor. Even if you decide not to do that, or if you do, like subconsciously deep down inside, you're always gonna like associate that with something. Yeah. Whether it's like, oh, this is what my parents want me to do, or this is what my parents think is the best thing for someone to do, like it messes with your psyche a little bit. Yeah. So sometimes it is better to like just let kids make mistakes and figure it out themselves.
So that's a good point. I mean, it's a huge point of discussion right now in general that, especially with a lot of immigrant communities, as an Asian American, a lot of people say that it's very difficult to try to pave a career for yourself without having the influence of your parents. As someone who's first generation immigrant myself, coming from Egypt, there is a lot of pressure from my parents initially to want me to do a lot of the traditional fields that they think will bring me prosperity and ultimately success. Do you think our parents overall, whether they do that or whether they stay a little bit far away and distance themselves and allow you to make that decision, what do you think ultimately is the reason why parents will either be involved or not be involved? Because to me, the way I see it is parents want their kids to pursue a certain career because they want them to make money, which traditionally in the past has been the only metric of success for everybody. It's if you're making a good salary, you can afford to buy certain things. You can afford to make sure your family feels comfortable. But in a day and age now where in 2019 going into 2020, we know that there are so many unconventional ways with the advancements in technology to make money and to pursue your hobbies. People are generally more creative than ever before, and at the same time more just like understanding of the fact that not everybody wants to go down these same like 5 or so career paths. Do you feel that it's a parent's role to influence their child one way or the other in terms of their career? Or do you feel, how I feel, that a career itself isn't at all a measurement of what somebody should be doing with their life? It's more so a form of sustenance in terms of monetarily for you, and that money should be helping support your like whatever you want to do in life, whatever your calling in life is. So whether you want to like the way I look at it is, I do my career and my day job. I would love to enjoy my day job, which I do currently enjoy my day job. I work in advertising right now. The reason I work and work a day job in general is to be able to afford to do hobbies and other things like what I'm doing right now. I feel in general though, a lot of people end up losing that and thinking I need to do a job that also both provides me the money that I need to keep myself afloat and at the same time the fulfillment in life that I need altogether. And that's kind of how we set up this situation for failure, where we believe that our bosses and the people that we work with every day should be providing us that sense of fulfillment, and we ultimately don't get it, and then conflate that with the fact that our job might suck. And the way I look at it is, my job gives me the money that I need to pursue my dreams, and hopefully one day I can pursue those dreams full time. I would love to have the confidence or the safety net to pursue them full time and quit my job so that I can spend all of my time on that, but unfortunately that's not a viable scenario for me. And I know it's not a viable scenario for you and most of the people that we know. And so do you feel it's a parent's role to help instill those principles in a child and help them understand that, a job is for sustenance mainly and to help you basically go on through life? Or do you feel that we should be convincing the next generation that if they don't want to pursue any of these academic careers, they just shouldn't,
Right.
Like a lot of people now are in crippling debt for tuition that they paid for a degree that they have nothing to do with now and don't care about right now.
Right.
I know so many people who paid so much in tuition every year and are now in tons of debt, and they work like a job that's completely in a different sector and different industry. And to me, that's sad because, it's not that they wasted their time in college, because like we said earlier, you gain a lot from your time in college no matter what, but it's more so like you could have avoided the debt that you took on in college, and that's a whole different story on how we should be paying for tuition in general. But do you think we should be convincing the next generation? Will you talk to your kids and help them see that they should pursue their hobbies, or that they should also pursue the safety net at the same time? That's something that I am confused about, and I'm not sure what I want to do with my kids, so I was just curious to hear what are your thoughts on that.
I think your parents should do both.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think you should ever restrict your kid from being something that they're not. If they're like for example, for me, like I never like went to college or like went to high school thinking like, oh, like I want to be doing this for the rest of my life. That's like my passion,
Mm-hmm.
right? For those people, the people that like don't have that, like it's okay for them to just have like a regular job until they figure it out. Like, in terms of the parent's role, the parent can only say what they know themselves. So if they're like completely comfortable with their regular 9-to-5 job, how are they gonna ever? How do you expect a 9-to-5 job, like a 9-to-5 person, to tell their kids like you should pursue business, you should pursue like X, Y, and Z? Like, no, they're gonna only be able to parlay information to you that they know, right?
Yeah.
Or like maybe you'll have people like, let's say for athletes, like maybe like you're like maybe for me, like I love basketball, but I don't think I've ever had the physical like gifts or like the discipline or like just the right environment to be able to really pursue that, like seriously. But like, would I want my kid to do that? Yeah, but that's my choice as a parent, right?
How would you even know, right? Like you're saying, for instance.
I mean, I'll send him to basketball camp, and then if he likes it, then like he'll go to another basketball camp, and like Like that'll keep like building on itself. But like,
But let's say your child comes back to you and says, "I love basketball," right?
Mhm.
And you're watching them and they suck. What do you do as a parent moving forward? On one hand, you want to support them. On the other hand, you want to make sure they're making the right decisions moving forward. What do you do if they say, "I want to pursue a career in sports"? Because on one hand, I think, motivation and confidence will get you a long way. Having confidence in yourself will literally make you better at that thing. So
Right.
they can go on, and because they're so driven to do it, they can really get better at basketball. But because at the same time they don't have that foundation and that baseline to be a good basketball player, they're running a huge risk of not ever making it,
Right.
and so end up falling on their face. So as a parent, what do you do in that scenario?
Well, if they fail trying, then maybe at least they'll fall somewhere in like almost there, right? And that's better than nothing. Like the skills and like all the like life lessons that you'll get out of like going through all those basketball camps and all the friends that you'll make like playing pickup basketball and like et cetera, like those are like invaluable. So
Yeah.
like regardless of whether or not like you actually get to see your kid like be in the NBA draft, like I think the journey is what's important. Like there are plenty of people that haven't made the NBA. It's a very exclusive club.
Yeah.
But like guarantee you that like having tried so hard for like a sport or whatever, like I'm sure it's instilled like life lessons into people. Like, okay, well, if I have to wake up like, at 6 a.m. to go shoot at my YMCA before everyone gets there, like I'm gonna have to do that. Like, and that kind of like instills like lessons into a kid where like they're like, okay, so if I can translate this to life, and I'm like, okay, if the only thing stopping me from like getting like this said career is me waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning and working on my craft, then maybe that's all you can ask for in your kid, that like you're at least instilling that type of discipline or like life lesson or whatever.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. I mean, yeah, as long as you can be supportive, right, and be there, like I think as a parent, as long as you're emotionally there for your child, you're doing everything you can.
Right.
And if the child themselves, with your other support, like financially and other forms of support, as long as they can be able to do the other hard work of actually learning or practicing or whatever it is, whatever they want to do, I think that's as much as both of you guys can do, and whatever ends up happening is just
I mean that's life.
Yeah. Like
life is made out of decisions. At one point you have to stop making decisions for your kid. He's gonna have to figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. On that note, speaking of decisions, I want to play a quick game with you. You cool with that?
Sure. Can I drink my beer?
Yeah. We're actually going to shift over to another location.
All right.
So we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have a quick game of rapid fire with David.
Sounds good.
All right, David, welcome back. You're ready to play a quick game of rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, cool. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you have only about 5 seconds to answer each. So whatever the first answer that comes to your mind, just blurt it out, all right? And we're going to go through all 5 of these, and at the end, if I like any of the answers that you gave, basically, I might ask you to dive a little bit deeper on them. That's cool?
Sounds good.
Cool. All right, first question. What is your biggest fear or regret?
College.
Nature or nurture, and why?
Nurture.
And why?
Because I always wanted to give back.
What do you hope people remember you for?
Being funny.
What has been your proudest moment?
Not right now.
If one actor could star as you in your biopic, who would it be?
Daniel Day Kim.
Alright, so there's a lot of suspect answers that you gave. I need to
It's
know.
5 seconds.
Okay. Yep, alright, so I thought I was going to pick one of these to ask you to go a little bit deeper on, but I kind of feel like there's a couple of these that I want you to elaborate a little bit more on. First of all, why Daniel Day Kim for your biopic?
Because he's just an attractive Korean dude.
No, so that's just
That's
the only
literally
criteria.
it. That's literally the only.
That's how you view yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at least he'll make me seem like I was a more attractive Korean dude.
Because no one will remember what you look like.
Right, exactly.
Okay, you said this was not one of your proudest moments, but what has been your proudest moment to date?
Proudest moment was signing up for the military.
Oh, okay. you said you would hope people remember you for being funny. But other than that, is there anything specific that you think you would like to leave behind before you go? And I know we're getting super morbid. I want you to get as morbid as you possibly can.
Skinny penis?
Okay, alrighty. Okay. Why nurture?
Versus the alternative was nature, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I always think I'd prefer to be in a role that I'm giving back, versus like taking anything for myself. But I guess I don't really know what nature means in that context.
Basically, do you feel people are ultimately affected by their surroundings more or by how they were born? So.
Okay, that's what you're getting at. Okay, yeah.
I mean, you can go as deep about it as you want, or as shallow about it as you want, whichever way you prefer. But I wanted to get your opinion on whether you feel people are born a certain way, or whether it's their environments that ultimately affect them.
Oh, I 100% think it's nature. Like, I 100% think that if you plopped me into a different family, into a different country, into a different like completely different environment, I'd be a different person.
Cool. So environment, nurture.
Yeah. Like, cool. If I was adopted by white parents, and maybe in rural Georgia, and maybe ate more starchier foods, I'd probably be playing football, and maybe I could be like what's his name, Young Hoku or whatever. He's like the kicker for the Falcons. So career represent.
All right, awesome. Okay, and then your biggest fear or regret. Touch a little bit more about that.
What did I say before? I said college.
I think so, yeah.
Biggest regret was not trying harder in the beginning. But again, like, I'm still grateful for everything, because I had to go through those things in order to realize what I had to do with my life. But I do regret, maybe if I applied myself more, I would have reached that decision, or found more things to do earlier on in my college career.
Got it.
But I'm still grateful for my experiences.
Oh, of course, yeah. And that's awesome to hear. So obviously, the show is about diving deeper about your personality and everybody else's personality. What is it that you want people to take away from this interview? What is it that you want to leave people with before you go? That there's no right or wrong answer with anything. You go with the flow?
No, not even go with the flow. Just there's no point in looking back and being like crap. I should have. Well, even you can have regrets and stuff, but the only thing that will change your life is by moving forward and just taking today to realize okay, I have to do stuff right now in order to change my life. No one's gonna do it for you, so you might as well be the one that does it.
So how much should you be focusing on right now versus overall bigger picture?
Ooh, so present versus future.
Mm-hmm.
I think without execution, there is a dream will just always be a dream. So I think you need to have them. You have to be in the present, but at the same time understand when you're going somewhere. Right. So
should everyone who's watching embrace where they've come from so far, but then ultimately pursue their dream?
That they should pursue their dream, and then at the same time actively be working on it every day, and not just talking about dreams, actually going out and doing it.
Do you think you do a good job of that?
Do I think I do it? I don't know. I try my best, but words are easier than things are easier said than done. You're just gonna have to hope that one day you say it enough times that it just comes to fruition.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks.
Really appreciate you. Say goodbye to everybody watching. You've been great.
Peace. I was wondering if we're gonna have scheduled breaks, because my mouth is getting kind of dry.
Oh yeah, you could just grab water whenever.
Oh, okay. I also want to crack my beer.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna crack your beer. Well, I don't know if I should show that.
You're doing great.
Dude, the conversation's so serious.
It's gonna get more playful now. I just wanted to hear more about this. I'm genuinely curious.
Stop.
It's like, nah, I can't
I
do
literally
this
said
right
the
now.
one rule. The
A
one.
little bit.
I said there's.
How long has it been so far? Like, how many minutes have we been talking?
We have 21 minutes of footage.
Holy shit.
I literally was saying earlier the one rule. I'm not cutting anywhere in this. He goes, yeah, can we cut?
It's like.
All right.